Morning, this is Steve, Sailing Alison. Today I'm going to embark on connecting up solar panels to the boat. So I've bought some rather large panels and eventually they're going to be mounted on a solar arch. But I think the first thing is I'm going to put together and mount the controller. Now, those of you who've been with the channel for a time will know that I've got 48 volt battery. And of course most solar panels are designed for charging 12 volts. So I had a lot of thought about this, and there's two ways that you can do this. So the first way is that you can have the panels in series, and if you put panels in series, then the voltage adds up. So, you know, two 12 volt panels it will mean that you could charge a 24 volt battery, and 4 of them would mean that you could charge a 48 volt battery. On a boat, there's a disadvantage with connecting panels in series, and that is that if any one of those panels is shaded, then you will lose power from the entire 4 panels, the entire array as people call it. And so that, because it's very difficult to arrange to have all the panels in sunlight all the time because you've got the sails in the way, then that is I think a key disadvantage. So the other way to do it is to wire the panels in parallel, which means that you've got a 12 volt system, but you're getting twice as much current. And the good thing about that is if one of the panels gets shaded, it doesn't affect the other panel at all. They will both work properly. So that gives you another problem, which is 12 volt panels won't charge a 48 volt battery. So what you need is what's called a boost converter, which takes the voltage of from a 12 volt panel and boosts it up so it's enough to charge a 48 volt battery pack. Luckily, Renogy do one which is a nice size and decent current, so that's what I've bought, and I'm going to start by mounting that and connecting it up to the battery. Here is the Renogy charge controller. This is a boost controller. As you can see, it's 10 amps out. So what I'm going to do is mount it on this backing plate, and then I can put a fuse on the positive output, connect it into this terminal block, and then connect the negative in. Then this whole thing can be mounted. I'm going to put it in the quarter berth where the inverter charger and the isolation transformer are already, and that then I will be able to run a wire from there into the battery box. So I've got it mounted up. Unfortunately, I don't have the right connectors for these two wires, so need a yellow 6mm hole and a blue 6mm hole, and I don't have those. I've got these two sides on. Next task is to use some epoxy to paint these so that they're waterproof. So it's a nice sunny day, so hopefully I can get that done fairly quickly today. So after a bit of hiatus on the old solar power thing, I've finally turned back to it now. So I'll show you where I've got to. I've decided that the solar panels are going to go on this. I'm going to reuse the solar arch, which you can see there, and I'm going to add a lot more strengthening and stiffening to it. So my plan is that it will overhang the back, but by no more than the existing wind vane steerer, so it won't add to the length of the boat. And then I've checked, and it does come out just to the side of the boat here, so it doesn't add to the width either. I've been building a frame for the solar panels, so I'm going to build a kind of solar arch. Now this is only temporary, so I've made it out of wood. Main reason for that is that the stainless steel tubing and fittings are pretty expensive, and I thought, well, if I do it this way, then I get a chance to experiment and make sure that I've got the right configuration before I commit to all of that expense. Also, a lot of the strength and rigidity is actually from the aluminium frames of the solar panels themselves. So really this is kind of just tying everything together. Here are the solar panels themselves. I must admit they look pretty big here on the deck, but I have measured up and I think that they will fit in, and they won't be too bad once they're up on the solar arch. Just a quickie, these drill bits are amazing. These are from the Bosch Expert range and they absolutely rip through plywood. 19mm ply, they go through in like 4 or 5 seconds. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm never going to buy any of those cheap flat plate bits again. Apparently these last 10 times as long as the normal ones, and since the normal ones will only drill through about 1 piece of plywood, then I think that they're easily going to surpass that. So I've wired in the new, this is the solar panel input, so into the fuse holder, and also into the negative bus bar. It's that one there. So all I need to do now is get another fuse for this, a matching fuse, and connect it all up. Here's the solar arch so far. I think it's coming together. What I need for extra stiffening, I think, is at the front I need like a piece to go at a diagonal like that. So I've found a supplier who will deliver in a day or so, so I think I can get the extra bits for that. But I think it's going to have the strength. I am going to do a test fit today, see how it looks, whether it's going to fall to bits with the solar panel on, but I think it's okay. Eventually, of course, I'm going to replace all this wood with stainless steel, but this making things as a prototype I think is a really good way of making sure that you've got it right, rather than spending a whole load of money and then discovering that it's not right. Morning. You join me on a very windy day in Scarborough Harbour. So this morning I had a bit of a flash of inspiration. I've been making the solar arch, and I think you'll have seen that the top of it is made of bits of wood, and I've always said that that was going to be a prototype, and that's true. You know, eventually I was going to replace it with one that was made of stainless steel tubing, but I was planning to kind of do a bit of sailing with it as is, and it kind of troubled me because I didn't feel that it was going to be strong enough. And so I was thinking, how can I do this? Should I go for the stainless steel tubing? And then, you know, and that was troubling me because I didn't really know how I was exactly going to attach the panels to the tube. And then I had this flash of inspiration. Why not just buy an entire piece of marine grade ply, 18mm, cut it to shape, and so it'll be a single piece, it'll be as strong as anything, and you know, I can bolt through the whole lot and it'll all really tie it all together. So got on to Jewson's, who don't sponsor me, of course. They had a sheet of marine ply ready within 15 minutes, went and collected it, and now I'm going to do the cutting up. So hopefully by the end of today I'll have it in the right shape, and I'll have it painted as well. The good thing is I can use the frame that I built previously as a template, so all the holes are there, so it should be really quick to do. This is where I've got to. I've all cut it out, cut to size, drilled the holes, and first coat of paint on one side. Got the other side painted. Could really do with 2 coats, but not really got time for that. I think we need a time lapse now. No matter how I tried, I couldn't get any of my metric sets of Allen keys to work on the grub screws, and there's loads of grub screws on here, so seems the size of them is somewhere between 3mm and 4mm, and they're supposed to be 3mm. Anyway, I did a little bit of research and found that in Imperial you've got 2 different Allen keys which are between 3 and 4mm. So that's 1/8, which is about 3.1, and 9/64, which is just over 3.5. So hopefully one of those 2 is going to do the trick. I bought this entire set, so let's have a look, see if it works. Well, glory be. Turns out that they were 1/8 inch, which is, I think, 3.125mm. So after all that, 2-minute job to tighten everything up. So pleased. Oh yeah. First thing today is to connect up the solar panels. So that's going to be rather exciting. So first thing is put the fuse on, which connects through to the solar charger. Just going to turn the battery back on now. So in order to turn the battery on, because of the big capacitors on the inverter and the motor for that matter, I have to press this button. This charges up those batteries, and then when I start to get a decent voltage on here, you can see the voltage rising, and yeah, now I'm going to turn it on. Hopefully we will get it go right up. Yeah, there we go. So it's gone up to 53 volts. So according to Renogy, a 48 volt lithium iron phosphate battery, which has got 16 cells, should be white on these LEDs. So that's what I've set it to. Right, I've got it all connected up. You can see on the positive side, this here is a fuse. So there are fuse blocks in there. So each panel has got its own separate fuse. So we're not quite in full sun, but you can see we're getting 5.6, 5.7 amps here. That's really good, and you can see that the battery voltage is starting to tick up, 54.8. so I'm going to leave it charging and see whether the settings are correct, you know, on the charger, because one of the problems, I don't know if you recall, I had with the inverter charger was that the battery management system was kicking in and stopping it charging just as it got to the top of the charge, and that was causing all sorts of problems. So I may end up having to select a battery type which has got a lower voltage, just to stop that happening. And you know, I lose the top couple of percent of charging, but yeah, I'm going to see how that goes now. It's looking pretty good. I'm boiling my kettle off the inverter now. So let's see what the current is being drawn. Here we go. So we've got a full 60 amps coming out. presumably, you know, you've got that 5 amps coming in, 2.8 kilowatts. It's a 3 kilowatt kettle. It's supposed to be a very efficient one, but obviously you need a pretty powerful inverter to supply 3 kilowatt. Well, you need a 3 kilowatt inverter, don't you? So yeah, looking good. Let's see what happens. See, that's now in the sun. I think you can see that the net current draw is dropping, because obviously the current from the solar panels is going into the battery. Well, it's going into the kettle. So yeah, all looking good. I'm trying to fit this second backing pad, which unfortunately it's in a position where I can only just get at it. It's actually underneath here in this locker, and it's at the base of this strut here. So what I've done is I have drilled into here, you know, some of the way in, and hopefully that means that the bottom end of the bolts will be led into these holes, and I'll just be able to push it up into place. Now it's already got nuts on the bottom, and I'm wondering whether the best plan is to leave those nuts in place and then put other nuts underneath, because obviously those nuts will go into there. I might try that first, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll take the nuts off. That has worked fantastically well. So all I need to do is get a couple of nuts on there, use a mole grip to hold the nuts and tighten them up from the top. What a good result. Thought that was going to be a lot harder. Right, I think I've got that up nice and tight now. I was just checking, see what it was like. So yeah, all good. I'm going to use this stuff to lock the threads on the bolts that are holding the solar panel onto the mounting piece of plywood. So there's quite a lot to go at. You can see there's one there, a couple there, and so on. So each one's got 4 bolts on, and then there's some bolts here as well that I need to do. So I'm just going to make sure that the thread of all of those is locked on. Beautiful afternoon, quite windy, and I think the nice thing is that really you can't see the solar panel moving at all, or hardly at all. Probably be a little bit different when we're out at sea though, so we'll see whether we've got any difference. You know, when we're in the 4-6 or something, we're over at 45 degrees, so that might make a difference. Anyway, I feel a lot better about it than I did a week ago.